Without further ado, Lord Richard Best is the chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Committee on Housing and Care for Older People. When I first heard Lord Best speak, he's waiting to see what I'm going to say. In fact, I was truly inspired. This is a man with massive passion who really knows his stuff, and it was just fantastic to come across this school of thought. And of course, his influence within Parliament is invaluable in terms of helping to make things happen, because policy is critically important. So Lord Best has participated in our Neighbourhoods of the Future publications and various events, and without further ado, I will let him speak for himself, because he does that much better than I could. Lord Best.
Ian, thank you very much. Well, congratulations on bringing us all together again. Another vibrant, buzzy event that you are famous for. And congratulations on getting this whole ISO initiative up and running. This is really becoming something incredibly significant. We do need guidelines, standards, codes of practice to share and to learn from each other from. And you are reporting, Nell and Nathan are reporting real progress here in this area of multi-generational housing and neighbourhoods that's so important. So congratulations on getting us this far, and it's clearly going places. I'm incredibly impressed. Anyway, Ian, you've asked me to take a kind of broad perspective, a policy view of how we're doing in terms of multi-generational housing. I'm using the UK as a bit of a case study. Learn from our mistakes is probably my headline. But how are we doing? Let me say where we should be going. We should be recognizing the demographic change that's happened across the world. An increasing proportion of our population are older people, and the homes that they live in are incredibly important to them in terms of health and well-being in older age. And they're also important in terms of the rest of society, as I'm gonna, I hope, explain. I have to say we are doing very badly in the UK. We are not creating multi-generational new neighbourhoods. If we're building 50 new homes, 500 new homes, 5,000 new homes, we are not remembering, understanding that we need to incorporate into that 500, 5,000, whatever it is, a proportion of homes that are age-friendly, even dementia-friendly, that are there purpose-built specifically to meet the needs of all of us as we get older. We're not doing it. We have 8 major house builders, an oligopoly of house builders, typically building out of town, greenfield site, high concentration of small family houses in rows. This is extremely profitable, but it completely ignores the shape of society today. Government is conniving in this, in subsidizing family housing through its help to buy for first-time buyers, special tax concessions, stamp duty relief for young purchasers, for first-time buyers, nothing for older players, and the house builders are not producing multi-generational neighborhoods. They absolutely are not doing this in terms of the new homes that we're building. And even the affordable housing, which I'm particularly passionate about. I chair the Affordable Housing Commission here in the UK. We desperately need more truly affordable homes. Even the new affordable homes that we are building are for families. Very little that is purpose-built, specialist housing that is suited perfectly to the needs of older people within the context of a multi-generational neighborhood. We're just not doing it. There was a group called HAPPY, the Housing Our Aging Population Panel for Innovation. And we've been working on these issues for some time. HAPPY was sent by the government, this panel for innovation, to 8 European countries to see what was happening in other countries. And we discovered that the UK was lagging behind. We went, for example, it even got onto the front cover of our first HAPPY, H-A-P-P-I report. We went to Malmo in Sweden. building a whole urban extension, really important, major new development. And the anchor scheme, the core scheme in the prime site, looking out over the sea, the Neptune scheme as it's called, is for older people. It's age exclusive, because putting a really finely well-designed development for older people at the heart of a new expanding community there provides the anchor, the base from which community action can follow. These older people they're not gonna move in a hurry. They're going to stay there. They're going to spend their money in the shops and cafes. They're going to be out and about locally. They're going to provide a lot of the care that is needed for other older people, because it is older people themselves who are carers and who, as volunteers, can be so useful within a community. This is real stability for a community and revival of that area that's being regenerated in Malmo. Such a wonderful example, which we do not find in the UK. We built in the last year that we count these things, 2019-20, we built 7,000 new homes that are age exclusive, that are age friendly, tailor-made for older people. 7,000 homes. Well, government's target is 300,000 homes every year. We built 7,000. This is a niche market, a small market. It needs to be a big, bold market. I liked your phrase, Ian, go big or go home. We've got to go big on this. We've got to recognize society has changed. And what we have in the UK is tens of thousands, in fact, small numbers of millions of pensioners, 1 and 2 people living in 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom houses. That's a typical position within the UK. And we need to change radically. Now, why does this matter? Why do we need to build homes that are tailor-made, designed specifically for older people? Why does it matter? It matters for older people because the homes that we're living in so often, those 3- and 4-bedroom suburban family houses, they are increasingly unsuitable for our needs in older age. They're increasingly inaccessible. We've got to get up the stairs. We've got to get up the steps on the outside. We can't get into the bath upstairs. They are inaccessible increasingly. They're increasingly unmanageable. Just getting the plumber around when we need them, just looking after ourselves properly. It becomes more difficult in those contexts. The garden becomes more of a hassle than fun that it used to be. The place is expensive to heat. It's energy inefficient. These homes are not suitable for us as we move into our 70s, 80s and 90s. We are going to need something else, and we need to move to the somewhere else before an emergency, a crisis that forces us out of the home that is increasingly unsuitable. So many of our homes are not close to amenities, facilities, the doctor, the pharmacy, whatever we need. They are out in the outer far-flung suburbs. They may be in rural areas, and we're going to get lonely and isolated if we stay where we are and we don't think about the future and we don't have the options available to us to move to somewhere that is much more suited and is more in a central downtown position, like that wonderful Neptune scheme in Malmo. But it matters not just for us, for older people. I confess to being 75, so these things are very pertinent to me, but it's not just for ourselves, it's for society at large that we need to take notice of this. It's very expensive to have older people in unsuitable housing. There will be accidents, there will be cold and damp, sending us off to hospital. Hospitals won't be able to discharge us back to our own homes because those homes will not be able to receive us. They won't take care of us. It costs more to the NHS in every possible way for people to be poorly housed for their needs as older people. In terms of social care, the care that we need, the very last thing we want is to have to go into an institutional setting, into a care home, because there's nowhere suitable where we could manage, where we could remain independent in our older age. COVID has told us that care homes are difficult places. very hard pressed, very difficult for the people who work there. We do not want to move people to care homes when that isn't absolutely the most essential and necessary situation for them. COVID has taught us that. And if we want to have a less use of residential care homes, then we need proper retirement housing in which we can retain our independence. And we want to revive those town centres now, those places where older people can be the anchor communities within the neighbourhoods. We want to revive them because COVID has accelerated what was happening already, the loss of retail, the loss of commercial use in downtown areas. Just the place to put new developments that are exclusively for older people within those communities. So I want to ask the question, how many of these homes should we build? To what standards should we build them? Why are we not building them, and how can we change that? How many, therefore, starting with that one, how many should we be building every year in the UK? Well, there are 3.8 million pensioners, people over 65, who have more than one spare room, and the space underneath that, so on 2 floors, lots of empty space, and most of them have decent sized gardens as well. 3.8 million pensioners under-occupying their properties. Even if 90% of those under-occupying pensioners stay exactly where they are for the rest of their days, that leaves 10%, 380,000, for whom a move would be not just sensible, but practical and helpful for the rest of society, making way for the next generation who do need those 3-bedroom houses and relish a garden to look after. That 10% is 380,000 or 38,000 homes a year if 1% of the demand was to be met each year. 38,000 homes a year. I chair the all-party parliamentary group on housing and care for older people in Parliament, and we estimated 35,000 homes were needed badly and could easily be filled every year. Demos, a think tank, came up with 30,000 plus. 7,000, I told you. 7,000 is how many we're building, and we are needing something around 35,000 homes a year. That is 5 times the output that we're currently achieving. What about the standards for these new homes? Well, design is all important. This is one, we can get away with pretty bad design and still sell the product to a young family who are desperate to move. We can't do that with older people. If we don't get the design right, if we don't get the quality right, old people are going to stay where they are, however unsuitable, however unsatisfactory that is. We have to achieve decent standards. The ISO debate impinges on this. Thank goodness you lot are working so hard on helping us achieve those standards. The Happy initiative did produce its own 10-point plan for improved standards, specifically for older people. It's a great guide, the Happy Guide. I think COVID has added a few points of emphasis for us. We know just how important now it is that there's a bit of outside space, a bit of green space, a bit of somewhere for people to walk about outside, but also to get to from inside. That is balconies, if not their own, a little patch of garden. So important to be able to get out and about. Goodness, we've learned that. And so important too, to have some space, not to be cramped, not to get cabin fever in a lockdown. We've recognized and understood that space standards matter, that we need to build into all of the new homes that we create in the future, the space for a family as well as for older people. And that's fortunately where government is currently consulting, looking at the standards, future standards as they call it, for all new housing for the future, coming up with whether or not we should go for accessibility standards that are very similar to the Lifetime Homes standards devised by the Joseph Rowntree Foundation some years back and now being updated. Those standards for everybody, making every single home that is built accessible for different generations. That's good, that's important, and government is consulting on it. I think they will come up with what we call Part M 4.2, a level, a standard that will much improve accessibility of the new homes built by those mass volume house builders. But we also need good standards specifically for older people that incorporate all the requirements that they need. And we've got them. I think I'm not worried about standards. There's lots of wonderful architects working. The annual Happy Design Awards produce terrific results. We know what we want to build. It's not that that's the problem. Why is it that we're not producing the homes at scale that we really need? Even the housing associations, doing things for the public good, are not building what we used to call sheltered housing. Today we call retirement housing. It's a very, very tiny proportion of, even in the social sector, of what is being produced. Well, the answer is financially, it is less attractive to build for older people. You've got to incorporate some extra space outside the home, but also inside the developments. There's going to be some communal areas. There's going to be a clubhouse or a club room, as well as somewhere to walk about, get a bit of fresh air on the outside. All this is extra space that reduces the financial viability of the property. We are going to need to build downtown, as I was saying, revive those high streets, revive those town centres, but that is expensive. That's not like those lovely green fields where the developers can make so much more money, getting the change of use from agricultural land to development value. They can make their big profits out there. They don't want to be bothered with coming into town to a relatively small sites where so much good can be done, but where the economics don't work so well. We're going to have to provide some extra services. Of course we are. They may well pay for themselves, but the developer has got to worry about who's going to provide those services. It is an extra burden, a hassle for them to think that one through. The purchasers where we're selling are going to be discerning. Older people are not going to stand for the quality, the defects that you find so often in new development by our volume house builders. They're not going to stand for it. They're simply not going to buy. And I'm told that it takes either 3 or 4 visits for an older person to the actual flat that they would be purchasing before they commit to buying, whereas a young couple desperate to move on, move out of living with their in-laws, move out of their expensive flat, they will accept something on the basis of just seeing the show flat. They won't even have inspected the property that they're going to be purchasing for themselves, only seen it from the outside. You get much more discerning purchasers if you're selling to older people. And government has not been subsidizing older people's housing. It's been putting all the money, 24 billion so far, into help to buy, helping younger households to buy. So how can we change all that, and how can we make things happen for the future? Well, we need to build in some unfair advantage for those who wish to build for older people, who wish to create those multi-generational neighborhoods, not the mono neighborhoods of just bland family housing as is now. We need to build in something special and different that will help that flow of new homes come down the pipeline. We could exempt them from the community infrastructure levy that otherwise they'd have to pay. I wouldn't exempt them from the requirement to include affordable housing in developments for sale, because I think that mix is very important and one builds that into the price that you pay for the site. But we could drop the stamp duty, the tax that is paid when you purchase a new home and is a deterrent to older people moving. They deeply resent the fact that they have to pay a big tax when they buy a new home, having sold their old one. That exemption could open up the market, get more people downsizing, right-sizing, moving, and freeing up homes down a whole chain right back to those first-time buyers. Yes, they will be able to take advantage of this further down the line. Stamp duty relief, therefore, has been advocated by my all-party group. We certainly need to inject more subsidy because the housing associations depend upon that to produce the homes that we need. So we need to step that up. But of course, government gets the extra grant back again in the savings to the NHS, in the savings to the social care budgets. fewer people moving into residential care at a cost to the state of huge sums, vastly more than subsidizing new suitable retirement accommodation. And my favorite, planning. The planning system should be making sure that in every major development, a proportion of all the new homes are exclusively for older people, to create that mix, that multi-generational mix. It should be a condition of planning. The local planning authority needs to be putting its foot down, and indeed, perhaps in other cases, allocating sites specifically to be used for older people's housing, crowding, keeping everybody else out, so that the price reflects that, and not the price of an Aldi supermarket who wants to buy that site, or of the Audi car showroom. No, making the planning conditional upon that being used for retirement housing of one sort or another. So there's also perhaps great advantages of using tech, new technological solutions, and I know that the Agile Aging Alliance is particularly strong on that theme, and I'll leave others to explore it. But we need to make things happen. We need a radical change. We need to really think big and get big in doing this. And I think the ISO initiative is a wonderful part of growing this neglected sector, of achieving real multi-generational neighborhoods for the future. Ian, thank you for having me on.
All best as ever, absolutely brilliant, and so many questions indeed. The commentary I was looking at, it would give us the rest of the day if you were to address it all.